Hey there, Hardcast listeners. Just a really quick message for you. Talk about an unlucky number 13, folks. We had it all in this episode. Connection problems, rambling without a point, but we pulled through. I tried to edit this episode as good as I could, but I can only do so much. So if this is the first episode you're listening to, I just want to say we're usually much better than this. Join us next week for a new and refreshed version of the podcast, where we're on the top of our game and won't have to worry about another 13 until episode 113.
Hello and welcome to Hardcast, where we talk about Harbinger Wars for the last time.
Thank God.
This time from Valiant's Egg. This time from Valiant's Egg in One Basket Bloodshot. I'm Humphrey Erm, and with me as always is Christian Kloss.
Hello, everybody.
Alright. Well, I have to say, I personally felt the Bloodshot volume added the least to the whole crossover.
Really?
Agree? Disagree?
I don't know. I mean, I felt, when I was reading it, I felt like this was more interesting than the other one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because it kind of, okay. First of all, I want to address the time skips again. Stop it. Stop it. If you're
okay.
No, because if you're going into the past already, don't confuse this by going forward in time and then going back in time again. There's that one scene where whatever that professor's name was, again, I'm so bad with names.
Yeah.
Where he basically, kills Bloodshot at the beginning of an issue. Right? And then we flash back to 3 hours earlier, but we're already 2 days earlier, and this kind of stuff just gets confusing. So, yeah, stop that. But anyway, no, just generally, I think this one was a little bit more interesting just because it humanized Bloodshot a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
I felt he came across as much stronger of a character in this issue. If anything, it kind of solidified in my mind that Bloodshot is a much better character, much more developed character than just the whole army weapon kind of guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
Again, maybe it's been like this already. Like he's all this kind of stuff that has just been like everything in this volume is just rehashed from previous volumes. But maybe I just didn't pick up on it. But in this volume, I really picked up on a lot of his characteristics. So, yeah, it was an interesting read for me at least.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of surprised considering, just overall how the Harbinger Wars books have been a bit, like, and how they felt, as well as your feelings with Bloodshot overall.
Yeah.
Because personally, I felt there just wasn't a lot new things introduced in this, tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with Harbinger, we got all of that, flashbacks to Toyo Harada, as well as a lot more of Generation Zero.
Right.
It really felt like, okay, this is from their point of view, and a lot more new material. And this, except for the scene with like the meat locker or whatever you'd call it, like the meat factory.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't like, no, we've seen all of this in some form in the original Harbinger Wars volume.
Mm.
But now we're seeing a little bit more from, his point of view. And except for, of course, what happens then to what's called Kara Murphy, as well as the reveal then that Toyo Harada actually does capture Bloodshot.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise there wasn't really anything new. It really, to me, compared to Harbinger Volume 3, this really felt just like a rehash of Harbinger Wars.
Yeah, it did. But again, I think they did it right. I mean, because All right. Well, I wasn't too happy about the idea of telling the same story 3 times, but just from different perspectives. But if anything, this comic did it right. Like with this,
Oh, really?
I think Bloodshot Volume 3 did it right because they, I don't know, it just felt like they delved more into his psyche. You know, they delved into like what makes him who he is. And a lot of that whole, like, I liked seeing inside his head how he was like on that operating table with that child. I liked that detail. Also his dreams.
Especially with the Harada Protocol then.
Yes, exactly, with the Harada Protocol. That was really interesting to see it like that. Although I have to say, for some reason, that whole fight was not as impressive as in the Harbinger War crossover, I felt.
It might have been the artist.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Clayton Henry doing the art for Harbinger Wars. And
Right.
I gotta say,
Right.
I would like out of all the artists they've had so far, I feel he's the one who does the most. I don't feel he really has like a distinct style in that sense, but he does it very solid.
Mm-hmm.
Like it kind of like you said to me before that one of the reasons you don't like a lot of like older comics because just drawing wise it just feels very doesn't really feel modern.
Well, modern, but just I've gotten so used to the modern drawing that I can't really go back to it.
Yeah, it just feels off.
Yeah,
It feels off,
yeah.
even if it's it's a classic or something.
Yeah, I mean, just
And
proportion
he
wise.
obviously, yeah. So Clayton Henry obviously fits that mold perfectly of what the modern like superhero comic book artist draws, and even more so as well because he actually has variety in his body types and faces and stuff like that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But I agree. Yeah, it wasn't quite as engaging, which is funny considering that this would be Bloodshot's tie-in. So you'd think they'd put more time on it in a sense.
Well, but the thing is, we've already seen the fight. I mean, now we can. I think it's an interesting way of saying, okay, now let's look at the story from inside his mind. That's not only, and then the fight is going to take a back seat to it. So I think, in some sense, it's actually kind of interesting that we saw more of what was going on inside him than what was going on outside him because we've already seen it. There's no point in drawing the same thing exactly the same again. Take it from a different perspective, which I think they did brilliantly here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that I agree with, because you're right. With Harbinger Wars, I guess it's the most neutral telling.
Mm-hmm.
We get to see it from all sides, and I guess in a sense we get to see it more as this second-person perspective in a way.
Yeah.
I think we very rarely get to see the like thoughts of characters.
Mm-hmm.
Little like monologues for themselves. But both in Harbinger as well as in here, we do get to, well, in Bloodshot's case, literally inside of him there and seeing his like representation of his inner psyche and all that.
Right.
So that's a very interesting take because I left after rereading it, I kind of left it like, damn, I can't remember that was like this boring, this volume.
Right. Well,
So maybe it was different the first time around, but right now it just kind of felt like, it really didn't feel good. Like it was for me the weakest, even after your like justification in a sense. I agree with it, but I still feel it was weaker.
well, I guess it comes down to personal preference. I mean, I do enjoy more the, character side of stories, like delving deep into why or how people tick. And so something like with the, God damn it, I can't remember the name. The team.
Generation Zero
No,
or
the other one.
Renegades?
Renegades.
The Renegades?
With the Renegades, just feels too much like there's too many people that you can't specify on one person or like delve in too deep on one person, which is why I kind of, I guess, didn't like the Renegades Harbinger War, part or the issue. And I don't know. It just feels like this Bloodshot one. Just I don't know. God, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm just spinning in circles. But
talking out of your ass.
Yeah. Basically, what I'm just trying to say is that you have, with Bloodshot, you just have this one guy that you can delve deep into, and I like that. And with you, it's more like you like the Renegade one more because there was more action, more things that happened, whereas that's not the real interesting thing to me because I'd rather see what's going on in these characters' heads than have them just do stuff, if you know what I mean.
No, but I see what you mean. For you, it's characterization, and for me, I guess it's plot. Like actual things happening, and
right.
No, I can understand that, and I'd say that I probably agree overall with our assessment in that sense. Not to say that the either of us wouldn't appreciate, that I wouldn't appreciate characterization as well as you, that you don't appreciate plot.
No, of course not.
Yes, what we kind of are drawn to if there's like a choice between,
right. So that's probably
two choices,
right, and I think that's one of the reasons why why we differ so much on this opinion of is this volume boring or not. But yeah.
All right.
One thing I do want to mention though is how weird it was. I mean, this is something that I picked up on when I was reading it. Why is it okay to show people get their heads blown off, multiple types of dismemberment and killing and really brutal killing? I mean, even killing kids and stuff like that. But then they still have to censor fuck. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the only I've discussed this before, but the only reasoning I can think of that has like any weight, I feel, is that the swears are the things that are the easiest to copy, for a kid.
But that's the thing.
You know what I mean?
Yes, but I mean, censoring
like when a kid reads this, they're not gonna okay, I'm gonna use my psychic powers, or I'm gonna go do this, or
I'm gonna go use a gun,
like,
or I'm gonna go use a gun to shoot people with, which has happened a lot. But I mean,
but still, you need the gun in place. Here you just need to have what's called literacy.
Yeah, but
be able to speak.
Yeah, but saying fuck doesn't hurt people in the same way like a gun does. But anyway. No, but my point is just that doesn't help though, because when I was reading the parts, I was like, what the bleep? Oh, he means what the fuck? That happens in my mind. And any kid, no kid who's reading this volume does not.
No kid should be reading Valiant, I think.
No, they should not be in any way. So that's why it's kind of making me wonder, why is fuck censored? I mean, it looks like this is an adult book anyway. And even if a kid does read it, I'm pretty sure that if he has the reading comprehension to follow this and to like this, I'm pretty sure they know the word fuck and where to use it. So there's no point in censoring it because everyone knows the word and everyone puts it in there. It's the same thing with like Louis C.K. says with the N word. Whenever someone
fill it in already.
Yeah,
so
people fill it in automatically when someone says it. So basically, you're making me say it.
My N-word.
And even with that, like when I was sitting there reading the comic, and there was another one because there was a couple of fucks, and then there was one where it says something like, where was it? It was in that battle thing, but he left. He went back into the helicopter and said something like, "I'm too old for this shit" or something similar. But he didn't use fuck, but he used a different one. So I sat there for a couple of minutes and tried to decode what swear word that was, because it just bugged me. I was like, okay, well, it's 5 letters, so it has to be. What could it be?
We get more of an understanding of Toyo Harada's victory here, having gained not just the Generation Zero kids, the surviving ones anyways, but also Bloodshot, as it turns out.
Nice read.
Reflect within the whole crossover. Oh. How does this reflect within the whole crossover, having the big bad basically win everything, with both sets of heroes not really accomplishing much?
Well, I mean, isn't that a good thing? Because
there's a plot.
yeah, because if Toyo Harada had lost, then the comic would be over. I mean, like,
well, you don't have to like lose, but I'll get you next time, renegades.
Right. No, but I like it that he didn't win, or that he did win, because it's so typical. I mean, again, I guess there's the whole thing where Valiant wants to go a little bit more realistic with the whole thing. That sometimes the bad guys win, and sometimes the good guys win, and in this case, we don't even know who the good guy is, because everyone's an asshole. So,
So yeah, no, again, I agree, because again, for being this crossover in their first one, it does have. Well, I guess the Bloodshot has the biggest change, so to say, in the dynamic. Like, oh, he's captured. So while Renegades, then the Harbinger is just kind of like, we lost, but we're alive.
Yeah, we're all alive.
So it's a little bit more
regrouped and everything.
Exactly. So that's a little bit more. Okay, next time. Just
right.
like the very optimistic.
Yeah.
But still, like, yes, the whole idea there of, especially since the whole point, especially with Bloodshot, as he was mentioning throughout a lot of this volume, I'm here to save the kids.
Yeah.
And like, well, you didn't. You had one job, Bloodshot, one job.
I didn't quite get that he was captured. I mean, we kind of cut to that place in Mexico pretty quickly. So, I actually assumed that that there was going to be another issue, because I kind of scrolled down and then suddenly the gallery started and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that was it. So I didn't really register that. I mean, obviously Harada is standing over Bloodshot's basically skeleton with his foot on his rib cage. So I mean, yeah, I could assume, I guess, that he was taken captive. I mean, I just put it away thinking, okay, well, now next issue he's going to somehow get out of it, or the fight is going to continue or something like that. But I guess it didn't. Or maybe it does in the next issue, which I see is even the hardcore.
Right. Yeah, no, I had that as another question, so that's a great lead in here. So are you looking forward to more hardcore? It'll be incorporated in the next volume.
Incorporated?
Right. Hardcore-porated.
Yeah.
And they're what's called... but there's something I'm kind of unsure about myself, because I was kind of stuck on this volume a while before I started buying more.
Okay.
This is as far as the Humble Bundle volumes went. So they had Harbinger Wars and volume 3 of all these characters.
Okay.
So I was kind of stuck for a long time on this, both out of cheapness, I don't want to buy any more comics. But then also kind of you know what, I'm genuinely interested and I am behind, so. And I also started what was called listening to the other podcast, Valiant Effort, who are, I think I've actually failed to mention this throughout this series, but are the main inspiration for the format that we're doing.
Right.
So I was watching, listening to their podcasts and kind of okay, listening up to the point where I am. And, liking their commentary on things, as well as sort of hints at what's coming next and stuff. I was kind of you know what, I am genuinely curious. And considering the fact that Valiant is a lot smaller, this isn't a new 52 where there's 52 comics to collect, or...
Right, yeah.
Or again, a huge thing, or okay, should I have Uncanny X-Men, Sensational X-Men, X-Force, Young X-Men? What's the difference between all of these?
Right.
So it's kind of you know what? Easy enough to keep track of. Don't need to collect everything. Maybe get them cheaper, the ones that I'm not as interested in later or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I was stuck on this for a while. So I was kind of curious when I finally got into the next volume. Yes, not really like spoilers in this case, since you could see from the preview in a sense. But I was unsure whether this was planned early on to have Bloodshot be part of the hardcore or whatever it implies, like somehow like what's called connecting, or if it was done to spicing up the Bloodshot series due to low sales or interest. You know what I mean?
So he becomes part of hardcore?
Well, that's kind of what it's implied at the end there. So as well as you can see in the gallery too, the cover for the next volume.
Which one? The number 12 variant?
No, further down, like it's like in the last page, I think. It kind of like has like a preview.
Oh,
like
I didn't go. Yeah, I didn't go all the way down there. But yeah, okay.
So, but I was just unsure because I like I like when they shake up a dynamic, but it's always tricky, I feel, when it's a new series. Like, it's one thing for, say, Batman, long-running character.
Yeah.
To do something like Batman Incorporated.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Batman Incorporated would have worked, in the 40s. Like 2 years or something into the series or something, and then, like, you know what, let's have him branch out. Like, it's something that, after years, people kind of, you know what, wouldn't that be a smart thing to do? So, I'm always kind of, I wouldn't say hesitant, but I always feel sometimes that they might have, like, switched things up a bit before they've done everything they could with the current setup.
Wait, so is there no more Bloodshot comics, or is it now always?
Oh, no, there's plenty. I mean, they're...
So what do you mean with the dynamic? Because I mean, I'm guessing that he's going to be in hardcore now, but he's also going to continue his own book.
No, it's still Bloodshot. It's still the Bloodshot series, but it now has the added title of hardcore. So it's still going to be numbered. I believe this went up to issue 13.
Yeah.
So issue 14 is going to be it's still Bloodshot. The original Bloodshot run runs for 25 issues.
Oh, okay. So I get it. But I mean, so then basically there's no change. I mean, all he does is say, okay, we're going to add the hardcore to it. But then when the stories are over, we're going to go back to Bloodshot, right? Like just Bloodshot.
Yeah, in that sense. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but yourself from the Valiant.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like kind of the same thing with, like, say, with Batman. I mean, there's Batman, and then, say, Robin enters the picture, then the comic will be called Batman and Robin for as long as Robin is part of it, and then when Robin leaves or whatever, then it'll just go back to being Batman again. I mean, this is like just a crude example, but I don't think that changes much of the character. I mean, it's not like they missed out on stories that they could tell with him. I mean, I feel this is like a natural progression. I mean, especially if he's now part of like Harada, like he's being like captured by him, kind of feels natural that he'll then kind of integrate into the hardcore. I mean, who knows? I mean, I think that would be interesting. Have a machine who can...
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying it's not...
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be cool.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not interesting. I just feel it's something that I've seen that I felt a lot with a lot of these TV show superheroes, so like Arrow and Flash.
Yeah,
because whenever a certain like reveal happens, like okay, now this character knows his secret identity, or
right,
okay, now this has happened, or this character's dead, or all these things. Like when the dynamic changes, it kind of, and again, mostly for the better. There's very few times where it's really like, this is an awful change. But I just kind of get like, but I feel they could have done a lot more Monster of the Week, with only Arrow, like in the first season. Like, maybe they could have done more before Diggle joins up and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing. Like, it's kind of proving your point because they have mentioned that in season 5, they're going back to it. The Monster of the Week.
Yeah, no, but with just Arrow, I meant. And again, not that I, would have wanted it all just to be him alone. But like I said, it gives a very different dynamic. What's called Ollie alone with
Right.
only himself and his wits is very different from Ollie with half of what's called Star City on with him.
Yeah, I know, but I mean that's the thing. Stories evolve, and writers always say about like I'm just following what the character tells me to do, and a lot of stuff is kind of natural, like a natural progression that you as a writer feel. I mean, I don't know if there's much difference in the writers between Bloodshot, but there's that whole thing that continuity ties your worst writer to your best writer. Or actually it would be the other way around, their best writer to the worst writer. So I don't know if there was that some guy had this idea or some girl had this idea to say like, hey, let's get Bloodshot into the hardcore and it's going to be horrible. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be like the worst thing ever. And then the next writer comes in and says, okay, you know what? He's going to just leave the hardcore. He's going to do something else. I don't know. I mean, I gotta say it's kind of sad, but I don't read the names of the artists or the writers on these comics. And I think maybe we should change the podcast up a little bit that, at the beginning when we start our review or our talk about it, we mention the writers and the artists just so we can keep it in our mind that, who worked on this.
So no, that's a fair thing, and I'm personally a proponent of that stuff as well. I do hate it when the creators of something just kind of are ignored.
Exactly.
Like, no, these things just spawn from nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, a short film about a candle was written by no one. Weird.
Exactly.
That's an in joke for a movie that Humphrey and I made, or not just us, but his directorial debut. But yeah, okay. Link in the show notes.
Exactly. So yeah, no, but it's called. Yeah, no, but they do switch up writers later, but they otherwise seem to keep the same writer for like the whole run, so to speak, before they like renumber. Like I'm just doing like a little quick check up here, and apparently, in this case, we got Dwayne Svierzynski for what's called the first 25 issues, I believe.
Okay.
But then we got Bloodshot Reborn, which is then after The Valiant, and that's by Jeff Lemire.
Right. So right now,
and he's been doing it.
Right now we have Dwayne. God damn, I cannot. How would you pronounce that name? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I tried. I just said something like Sverinsky.
Because I mean, I guess in America you kind of meet these kind of names a lot, but here in Germany and in Sweden and we just don't know. But then we
don't like people with names like that, so we don't let them in.
I hope that's not a Jewish name because that would be such a dark joke. Then we have Barry Kitson and Stefano Gaudiano. But yeah.
So the artists?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and then apparently not giving credit to Clayton Crane for the hallucinations that he has.
Right. Those were weird, I gotta say. Like I felt the drawings
shooting his wife in the face.
Well, no, not the context. No, not like what happened in it, but the I thought the art was weird. Yeah, it looked a little.
It's suddenly very detailed.
Yes, and it looked a little bit off. Like again, I felt uncomfortable, and I think that might be the point, maybe a little bit. And I don't know how, like, I don't want to say like, yeah, he drew it purposefully weird, so I feel that so that people would feel uncomfortable. But like, I don't know, I feel a lot of the the proportions are a little bit off, like the heads are a little bit too big and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I mean, I was just so used to the whole comic style, and then suddenly you have this realistic kind of 1920s, 1930s, or even 50s maybe, the advertising style. Like that's how they drew the ads back then. That kind of felt...
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You mean a little bit like, what's his name? Oh God, what's his name?
Well, like the drawings in
God,
huh?
Yeah, no, but I really wanted to remember his name now because I really should know it. So, man, he has a very, for whatever reason, I want to say Steinbeck, but that's what's called writer.
Yeah.
So,
it's going to be a lot of editing in this episode.
Yeah, no, it's well, I'll get back to it at some point if I think of it.
Do you want to?
I'm sure whoever is listening.
I mean,
no, I'll get back to it later.
I'll probably edit this stuff out. So yeah, I just think it's weird, but I mean, it's not like bad. It's just it made me feel uncomfortable, and I felt that
Rockwell.
Yes,
Rockwell.
Norman Rockwell. Okay.
There we go.
Yes,
there, it just suddenly came there.
A Norman Rockwell painting. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, we're both. I think we're both a little bit tired today.
You better get used to his art, though.
Yeah.
But you better get used to his art, though, Chris, because he's the main artist for Rye when we get to that.
Huh. Okay. Well.
So that's like then there's like entire 20 pages of that style.
Okay then.
No, I'm just saying, and especially I think what made a nice kind of, I'm not sure if he was already planned to be the artist or not for that. So, but I kind of like to think of that scene then where he goes from his like human persona back to his like Bloodshot form.
Mm-hmm.
So, because there he looks a lot like Rye, yeah. So I was kind of thinking like, oh, okay, no, maybe they saw his art there, like, you know what? Maybe you should, draw that series. Again, I don't know if that's what they're... All right. And, well, here's a nitpick. Harbinger Volume 3 was 185 pages long and had an extra story with the number 0 issue.
Yes.
And Bloodshot Volume 3 was 144 pages and lacked a 0 issue, so it was only 4 issues inside. But both sell for the same price.
Yes.
Is that fair with a 41-page difference between them?
Oh my god, dude.
I was having trouble thinking up of stuff because I felt this volume was so boring and most things we've already discussed in the other two.
So you were literally like nitpicking on one of like price now? Are we really going to discuss price?
And length.
Yeah. Well,
because I did feel it went very quickly. So I actually did kind of, wait a minute, but what about Harbinger? Right, Harbinger had a 0 issue, which then like extended it.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, well, how about this? The Dark Knight Rises is, God knows how, 2.5 hours long, and any like Frozen is 90 minutes long, or however long it is, 100 or 120. Anyway, Dark Knight Rises is longer than Frozen. Is it fair that both DVDs or Blu-rays cost the same?
That's different.
Not really. Because it's basically the same.
Yes, it is.
You have more content. I mean,
but you can't compare it because if you put the discs next to each other, they're the same size. If you take like the books, you'll see like, oh, well, something's sticking up. No, it is a nitpick.
I know, but
it is a nitpick. But it's something that's brought up a couple of times.
Well, think about it in this way.
People.
But think about it in this way. I mean, think about it like from an economic point of view, or even a psychological point of view. If you have books that cost different prices depending on the page size, I mean, you have volume 3 of one thing and then volume 3 of another thing, and they're next to each other, but they have different price tags. Obviously, you're not going to buy the more expensive one, even if it does have more content in it. You know, even if, because I mean, unless it's like twice or three times as much, like a huge visual indicator that is much, much bigger, then you might consider buying it. But if it's just one issue more and it costs more than the other one, then most people won't take it because they'll be like, oh shit, you know, this has gone up in price. I was expecting to only pay, I don't know how much they cost. Like what, $7?
No, what's called €11 according to Comixology.
All right, yeah. So if one is €11 and the other one is, let's say, €15, I mean, someone's going to be like, maybe not. I was only expecting to pay 11. You know, so I guess 15 would then be like this another hurdle to overcome, and many people would not dare take that jump. So
You're absolutely right. I think the main thing is simply it's the zero issue that does it.
Yeah.
I guess they just got to the zero issue quicker in Harbinger, so putting them in chronological order, it would simply make more sense to have it be here, because otherwise it would have been in the volume 2, and then that would have been longer, you know, compared to the others and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing I'd have to recheck, but I'm guessing volume 4, because I know there's going to be zero issues for Bloodshot as well. So I'm guessing then that will be in next volume or something.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you even it out, basically, if you say that, you know, that Harbinger is going to get a episode 0 or an issue 0 now, and then Deadshot is going to get one, or Bloodshot is going to get one in you know, the issue in volume 4 or something like that. You know, it's all even out, and if this prices stay the same, I mean, it's not a big deal in that sense. And especially, maybe it's just maybe do you know if that was the original pricing, or if it was if it was just the digital version? Because that might be an indicator of, because it's just digital, it doesn't matter how many pages they are.
No, I'm not sure. I'd have to check, but they tend to try to keep them in order to not compete too much with the physical market.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like with video games, you know, like why the hell is a digital game, you know, as expensive as a proper one? You know, they skip the whole manufacturer cost,
right?
And it's, you know, simply, well, you know, they're still selling the physical copy, so we want to make sure that there's no reason at all not to buy them.
Exactly.
So, which again will disappear, you know, in the future.
Yeah, everything will be
once everyone has fiber.
It's going to be subscription based.
Well, I hope not everything. You know, I don't mind a mix. You know what I mean? I like to, sure, you know, those who just want to be able to read things as it's happening, but then those who actually like having things. Again, and I mean as digital files, don't have to be physical.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's just you know, why not have, I mean, even then just like that, you know, why not do floppies as only digital, you know, in a subscription basis, and
then sell the volumes.
And then sell the volumes. You know, you can sell the volumes as, you know, hard copy and digital, of course, but, you know, because then you're constantly up to date, and if there was a story arc that you really enjoyed, you could then get it to keep, so to speak, and put it on your bookshelf or whatever. But yeah, who knows? Who knows where the future will lead?
Humphrey and Chris solving the the comic book market.
Yeah, totally. All
right,
we're gonna solve it with this podcast.
Well, I have one. Listen up, comic book industry.
Yeah, listen to the experts.
So, but.
Yes, your last point.
But then I kind of have one last question in the sense of the actual events in the comic.
Oh, okay.
Kara Murphy gets a hard reboot from Bloodshot, a lot dirtier than what I meant, and drives off to help her brother. So I personally feel she just kind of gets written out with no real indication of a future involvement. Did you care much for her in the previous, in these 3 volumes? Or is it kind of another, a good riddance, but okay, you know, she didn't really add much anyways?
honestly, again, this is I think my problem with just that I'm not focusing on one character. I'm not rereading these comics. I'm not in it, so to speak. So
In it to win it.
yeah, well, kind of I had the same reaction with her as with most of the kids. It's kind of like, wait, who was that again? You know what I mean? Is that it's just like, because I couldn't remember her at all. Like I did not remember what she did in the previous volume, and it might just speak to me and my like non-existent attention span to these things. I mean, as I said in a previous podcast, when I finish this podcast, like when I finish the recording, my mind goes blank for whatever I just read. Obviously, if I read it again, I remember it, but I couldn't. Like if you and I talked about it tomorrow, I'd probably have to open up the comic just to look through it to be like, oh right, yeah, that's what happened. So I don't know. I guess it's just like a problem on my side, but I feel like from what I saw in this volume, she is an interesting character. I like her. She's driven. She has she has a goal in some sense. She wants to protect the kids. She wants to, just understand what's going on. The ending, I think, spoke a lot to both characters, especially like, that Bloodshot would give her this money. Although I wasn't quite 100% sure. Like,
or you got it?
Yeah, no, not just that, but like, was that his intention? Like when she said the whole thing about it, like I kind of felt when she
you
saw
don't know what to do.
Yeah, she saw the money. I was like, oh, I can use this for my brother. And then he's like, and he's like, no, I meant you should save me. No, what are you talking about? And I'm like, shit. That's what I thought when I was reading it, but
it's a good thing that they are not what's called. It's a good thing that it was Morgan Freeman and not her in Shawshank Redemption.
Right. But what I just thought, and also that part where where he had to give the signal that he was about to lose, or there would be the point of no return or something like that. I didn't see a signal. I just saw him look at her. And at the point when he looked at her, he wasn't even in that dire of a situation, if you know what I mean.
Well, he's been through worse.
Yeah, exactly. And he was basically just fighting a bunch of kids and like the renegades in this case. But I mean, I thought when Harada was going to come, and he like Harada like rips him in half or something like that. That's when, Kara would be like, oh shit, I need to get out of here. And then she goes that coordinate. But I feel that what she's going to do, she's going to go get her brothers. They're going to heal up and everything. And then they're going to come back later. And I'm looking forward to that because I like her character. She's a strong woman. She's, driven, as I said before, has a goal. And I honestly, I see it more of a cowboy riding off into the sunset kind of thing. And yeah, she'll be back. She's going to keep roaming, going to get her brother and get that done and then come back for more kick-assing.
So she'll use the money to go through an experimental procedure that will give him superpowers.
Yeah. And then she'll become Miss Marvel. Oh, wait.
Yay. All right.
Yep.
But yeah, that's about it. Again, like I said, with that really nitpicky point.
Yeah, well, it was a short episode.
No, but I mean, most of these things were already in Harbinger War, so...
Exactly.
Can't really ask about like the fight with Harada. We saw that, and
Yep.
So, but overall, then now that we have kind of not really kind of summarized in terms of all three volumes, like the whole Harbinger Wars. Like, how do you feel that the whole first crossover event went now? Not just like the actual crossover book, but like the tie-ins. Like, how do you feel it would have been, like, reading it as it was happening and such, getting each issue, or just, like, overall in the end, Like, do you feel like it all went well as their first crossover and stuff, or?
I think it went well. I mean, it was big enough that it kind of needed a crossover. Like the stakes were high enough that I feel it could have been promoted as like a big thing. But my question is kind of like, what was the chronological order in which the comics came out? Like,
Ooh, I'm not quite sure.
Well, I'm just kind of wondering, like, did they come out issue by issue? Like, so was it, let's say in these volumes, would it be then issue 1 of that volume, then issue 1 of that volume, then issue 1 of this volume, and then what is it, then 222, 333, 444, or was it, you know?
I believe that's how it is, yeah.
Okay, well, that's kind of weird. I just feel that would be kind of weird to read, you know, to read what's happening after the fact, and then before the fact, and then during the fact at the same time. So, I mean, again, I've never read a crossover while it's been happening. I've always read it as a bundle afterwards in any kind of comic universe. So I feel like the way that we read it was actually the best way to read the whole thing first, and then actually, I mean, there might be a better way of reading it, you know, just...
There are reading orders.
Yeah.
I've seen one on the Valiant subreddit. They have like a link to one.
Right. So I feel
so not just for Harbinger Wars, but everything.
Yeah, I think that would be a good, interesting way of reading it, so that, you know, you get get everything the right time. I think that would be important, but yeah. Otherwise, yeah, I think it was good. It was interesting. It was a nice story where these two met for the first time, and yeah, I just hoped the next crossover would be a little bit bigger, like with more characters, maybe an alien invasion or something like that. But yeah, there is, isn't there? I thought we'd talk about that.
Yeah, well, I was trying, kind of like hinting and yes, mentioning. Don't want to get into too much detail, but yeah, like I said, there is going to come one. I believe it's the next one, which will be in a bit, of course, but it felt a lot more like Marvel DC wise, but like in a good Valiant twist to it. But honestly, I feel a bit. I mean, again, it's always tricky then when they try something a little different, to then chastise them for doing it differently, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kind of feel, I guess in a sense, this had a little too much of the whole like versus thing. You know, like a lot of people kind of like, you know, why is Batman and Superman fighting? You know, shouldn't they be friends? Can't they work together?
Oh, because of Martha.
Yeah. But that's what I mean then with here, like, it wasn't like a team. It didn't have to be a team up, but it was never really a. So, who are you guys? So, we're the Renegades. And, you know, like, kind of like, again, not that it had to have like a nice finish to it all with them teaming up and beating Harada, or at least, you know, scaring him off or whatnot.
Right.
But it's kind of like, okay, they barely meet, and when they do, they just kind of fight in a few pages, even like collected.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of like they just move away from each other. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, which I'm guessing is a bit of a spoiler in that sense, but I don't think they really meet again, like, in forever.
Okay.
So you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really feel like it was a...
Yeah.
Bloodshot. Who is this Bloodshot? Oh, wait, there's Bloodshot again. Or it's... Yeah. This. Oh, remember Vegas? Remember Vegas? Yeah, that thing happened. Right. The same thing from his end. Right, Vegas. Those, you know, punk kids, you know, were fighting me.
Right. Well...
It's just something that struck me right now while I was talking. Like, oh, yeah, crap. They...
Well, I mean, again,
the other ones have more, but...
Yeah, I could say in some sense, maybe, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just feel that there could be maybe a character, you know, point of view from this, because they both were working off of rumors and misinformation, and, you know, Bloodshot, all Bloodshot knew is that they needed to go to Vegas because this girl wanted to see her brother. And all the renegades knew is that someone who's going to kill the kids is coming to Vegas because they have the sister. So I feel like they were both, I mean, they're both really, or not inexperienced, but like the renegades are really inexperienced. You know, they've never had a battle like this before and that kind of stuff. And so I feel them going on full attack mode, like basically, okay, this guy is a killer. He's going to come kill the kids. We need to protect the kids. No questions asked. We just attack. So we set up a trap or whatever, and we just go for it. And obviously, Bloodshot's response is not going to be, oh, wait. You're attacking me right now, but let's talk first. Obviously, he's going to shoot back. So I feel the way that the whole thing kind of turned out was very natural. It made sense for the characters and where they are as characters now. Sure, I would have loved to have them. I would love that if they would meet up again soon, to be like, oh wait, shit, you were that guy, and oh shit, you guys were these kids that I fought, and that kind of stuff. But you know, as far as I know, they will still do that because you know I didn't listen when you spoiled me just now.
So yeah, no, it's like I said, you know, it's hard for me to say that it was bad, you know, just because it left me slightly unsatisfied in some respects. Because especially because I personally feel there's so many cooler things happening later thanks to the choices here.
Right.
In the respective series and stuff. So, like, again, like I really like that, like the next volume of Bloodshot. That's actually my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And all the things happening in Harbinger are also very interesting.
All right, well, look forward to reading them.
And again, that wouldn't happen had they, you know, been differently, like handled differently. But it still is one of those like, I don't know. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that a lot of times these days they tend to make fun of in superhero comics. This whole "let's you and me fight."
Right.
So I mean, heck, like they started making fun of that in the '90s, where it happened so often. So it's kind of, I mean, again, it's something that we like seeing because we like seeing the favorite characters duking it out. But like here, because it was sort of a big thing here, because again, Valiant is new, you know, even though it's an old property, it's still very young. So seeing how they actually how they do this. I mean, like a lot of stuff, like a lot of pressure must have been on them for this crossover.
Mm-hmm.
You know, okay, we got to do it right. And I think they did well in that sense, because I've read some reviews and articles from other like comic book sites where they say like Valiant shows how to do a crossover right, or like do a event comic right.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not sure how much on this, but for a lot of the other ones, they've gotten that.
Oh, okay, for the other ones. I mean, I was thinking about just this one, really. I mean, it was good, but I mean, I wouldn't say like this is the penultimate crossover. You know, every other comic company should take this as a template. You know, I wouldn't say that.
No, but they had some things like, yeah, no, well, it's not so much about like the content itself, as well, that's also, of course, important. It's more about like, okay, you know, it's simple. We have 4 issues of like the main comic, and then, you know, the other comics easily tie in, and they're not that very long. You know, there's just like maybe 3 issues or something that combine. So, yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, that's about it. I think you might be looking forward to the next episode. So it's going to be Shadow Man.
Oh, Shadow Man, I thought it would be hardcore.
Yep. So, well, you know, next... that'll be the next Bloodshot volume. But, you know, the next one for us to review or to discuss is Shadow Man, Volume 2.
All right.
You know, because he's behind since he got started a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not quite sure how far along the other ones were before his first issue came out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're going to have Volume 2 of that. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, should be great.
So, yeah. So thank you again for joining me, Chris.
Oh, of course.
That was the 13th episode of Hardcast, detailing Bloodshot Volume 3. For more content from me and Chris, check out robotkeith.com and follow us on Twitter at Humphrey_Erb and at Christian D. Claus. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or listen to us directly on robotkeith.com/podcast. Catch us later for our next episode.